A grenade just exploded in your right hand. Your fingers are gone, blown off, scattered across the mud of the trench. Your arm is shattered. Bone fragments are sticking through the skin. Your right eye is blind. Shrapnel has torn through it. Blood is pouring down your face, mixing with the dirt, pooling at your feet. You are in shock. Your body is screaming at you to lie down, to pass out, to die. But you cannot die, because 200 Japanese soldiers are charging your trench. You can hear them, screaming, boots pounding through the jungle, bayonets fixed. You have a bolt-action rifle, a Lee Enfield, designed for right-handed shooters. You do not have a right hand anymore. You are 4 feet 11 inches tall. You were rejected from the army for being too short. You have 4 hours until dawn, 4 hours until reinforcements arrive. What do? Rifleman Lachhiman Gurung did not lie down. He did not pass out. He did not die. He stood up. He raised his rifle with his one remaining hand, and he screamed into the darkness of the Burmese jungle, "AAYO GURKHALI! Come and fight a Gurkha!" By sunrise, 31 Japanese soldiers lay dead in front of his trench. He was still standing. This is not a legend. This is not a myth. This is not propaganda. This is what happened on May 13th, 1945. This is the story of the one-handed demon. To understand Lachhiman Gurung, you must first understand where he came from. Nepal, a country of mountains, a country of warriors, a country that has never been conquered. The Himalayas rise from the earth like the spine of the world, peaks so high that the air becomes thin, valleys so deep that sunlight only reaches them for a few hours each day. This is where Lachhiman was born, 1917, a small village called Dakhani in the district of Chitwan. His family were farmers, poor, hard-working. They grew rice and millet on terraced fields carved into the mountainside. Life was simple. Life was hard. Water had to be carried up steep trails. Firewood had to be gathered from the forests. Every meal was earned through labor. By the time Lachhiman was 10 years old, he could carry 50 pounds on his back up a mountain trail without stopping. By the time he was 15, he could walk 30 miles in a day through terrain that would kill a lowlander. The mountains made him strong, but something else made him a warrior. The Gurkhas. For over 200 years, the men of Nepal have served as soldiers in the British Army. They are not mercenaries, they are not conscripts. They are volunteers, men who choose to leave their villages and fight for a foreign king in foreign lands. Why? Because being a Gurkha is the highest honor a Nepali man can achieve. Because the pay sends money home to families who would otherwise starve. And because fighting is in their blood. The Gurkha regiments have fought in every major British war since 1816. The Indian Mutiny, the Afghan Wars, the Boxer Rebellion, the trenches of World War I. Wherever the British Empire sent its armies, the Gurkhas went too. They earned a reputation that spread across the world. Small men, quiet men, polite men, until the fighting started. Then they became something else entirely. The Kukri is the symbol of the Gurkhas, a curved knife about 18 inches long, heavy, brutal. It is not a stabbing weapon, it is a chopping weapon. One swing can take off a man's arm. One swing can split a skull. The Gurkhas carry the Kukri everywhere. They use it for everything: cutting wood, preparing food, building shelters, and killing. There is a saying among the Gurkhas: once a kukri is drawn, it must taste blood. If a Gurkha draws his kukri and does not kill an enemy, he must cut himself before sheathing it. The blade must always taste blood. This is not superstition. This is discipline. This is what makes a Gurkha. Lachhiman Gurung wanted to be a Gurkha from the moment he understood what a Gurkha was. He heard the stories from the old men in his village, men who had served in the regiments, men who had fought in France, in Africa, in the mountains of the northwest frontier. They spoke of battles, of courage, of honor. They spoke of the money they had sent home, the families they had fed, the respect they had earned. Lachhiman listened, and he decided he would be a Gurkha. When he was old enough, he made the journey to the recruitment center. It was a long walk, several days through the mountains, through valleys and over passes. He arrived tired but eager. The British officers looked him up and down. They measured his height, 4 feet 11 inches. They shook their heads. "Too short," they said. "Come back when you grow." Lachhiman did not argue. He walked home. He worked in the fields. He waited. The next year he returned. They measured him again. Still 4 feet 11 inches. Too short. He walked home again. This happened 3 times, 3 years, 3 journeys to the recruitment center, 3 rejections. Lachhiman did not grow. He was never going to grow. 4 feet 11 inches was all he would ever be. But he kept coming back, because giving up is not something Gurkhas do. 1943. The war was going badly. The Japanese had swept through Southeast Asia like a monsoon. Singapore had fallen. Malaya had fallen. Burma was falling. The British needed soldiers, desperately. They needed Gurkhas. Suddenly, the recruiting standards became more flexible. 4 feet 11 inches? Close enough. Lachhiman Gurung was finally accepted into the 8th Gurkha Rifles. He was 26 years old. He was about to become a legend.
And he personally shot dozens
Burma
of
in
Japanese
1945 was not a war.
87
It was a
Japanese soldiers
nightmare.
died in the battle.
The jungle
Lachhiman
was so
Gurung
thick
killed
that you could not see more than a few feet in any direction. Vines tangled around your legs. Branches clawed at your face. The canopy blocked out the sun. Everything was wet. The humidity was so high that sweat never dried. Clothes rotted on your body within days. Leather boots fell apart. Metal rusted. And the creatures. Leeches that dropped from the trees onto your skin. Mosquitoes that carried malaria. Snakes that could kill you in minutes. Spiders the size of your hand. The jungle itself was trying to kill you. And then there were the Japanese. The Imperial Japanese Army did not believe in surrender. Their code of Bushido taught that death in battle was glorious. Surrender was shameful, worse than death. A Japanese soldier would fight until he was killed. He would charge machine guns with a bayonet. He would strap explosives to his body and throw himself under a tank. And if he was wounded, if he could not fight, he would kill himself rather than be captured. This made them terrifying opponents. You could not intimidate them. You could not negotiate with them. You could not predict them. You could only kill them. But there was one thing the Japanese feared: the Gurkhas. Stories spread through the Japanese ranks like wildfire. The Gurkhas could see in the dark. The Gurkhas could move through the jungle without making a sound. The Gurkhas would cut your throat while you slept. Some Japanese soldiers believed the Gurkhas were demons, spirits of the jungle, not human at all. They believed the Gurkhas ate the hearts of their enemies. This was not true, but the fear was real, and fear is a weapon. By May 1945, Lachhiman and his battalion were stationed near a village called Taungdaw, a forward position, deep in Japanese-held territory. Their mission was simple: hold the line, slow the Japanese advance, buy time for the larger forces to regroup. It was not glamorous work. It was not safe work. It was the kind of work that killed men. Lachhiman was assigned to a forward trench, a listening post, the first line of defense. If the Japanese attacked, his trench would be hit first. There were 3 men in the trench, Lachhiman and 2 other riflemen. Their names have been lost to history, but their courage has not. May 12, 1945. The sun set at 1830 hours. By 1900 hours, the jungle was completely dark. There was no moon. The clouds blocked the stars. The canopy blocked everything else. Lachhiman could not see his hand in front of his face. He could only listen. The jungle at night is never silent. Insects chirp and buzz. Frogs croak. Birds call to each other in the darkness. These are the sounds of safety. When the jungle goes quiet, something is wrong. At 2200 hours, the jungle went quiet. Lachhiman gripped his rifle tighter. He strained his eyes into the darkness. He could see nothing, but he could feel them out there, watching, waiting. 0100 hours, May 13th, still nothing. The other 2 riflemen were getting tired. They had been on watch for hours. "Maybe they are not coming," one of them whispered. Lachhiman shook his head. "They are coming." He did not know how he knew, but he knew. 0120 hours. The first grenade came out of the darkness. Lachhiman heard the sound before he saw anything, a soft thump, metal landing on dirt. He looked down. The grenade was at his feet. Time slowed. Lachhiman did not think. He reached down, grabbed the grenade, threw it back into the darkness. The explosion lit up the jungle like lightning. For a fraction of a second, Lachhiman could see them. Japanese soldiers, dozens of them, moving through the trees. Then the darkness returned. But now there were screams, Japanese voices, orders being shouted, wounded men crying out. The grenade had found targets. A second grenade landed in the trench. Lachhiman grabbed it, threw it back. Another explosion, more screams. The third grenade landed at his feet. Lachhiman reached for it. His fingers closed around the metal. He started to throw. The grenade exploded in his hand. The blast threw Lachhiman against the wall of the trench. He did not feel pain at first. There was only noise, a ringing in his ears so loud that it drowned out everything else. And heat, intense heat, like his arm was on fire. He looked down. His right hand was gone. Where his fingers had been, there was only blood and bone. The grenade had torn through his flesh, shattered his wrist, ripped apart the muscles of his forearm. White bone was sticking through the red meat of his arm. Blood was pumping out with every heartbeat. Shrapnel had hit his face. His right eye was destroyed. A piece of metal had torn through it. He could feel the blood running down his cheek. The right side of the world was gone. Only darkness. He tried to move. His body did not respond. Shock was setting in. His brain was shutting down, trying to protect him from the pain, trying to make him sleep. His two comrades were down. One was unconscious, bleeding from a head wound. The other was screaming, holding his stomach, trying to keep his intestines from spilling out onto the floor of the trench. Lachhiman was the only one who could still fight. Outside the trench, he could hear them coming. Japanese voices, orders being screamed, boots crashing through the undergrowth, 200 soldiers charging toward his position. Lachhiman had a choice. He could stay down, play dead, let the blood loss take him. Maybe the Japanese would overrun the position and not notice him among the bodies. Maybe he would survive. Maybe. Or he could stand up, with one hand, with one eye, with a body that was screaming at him to stop, to rest, to die. He could stand up
inspired his
and
soldiers,
fight.
and then reinforcements
There
arrived.
was no choice.
They would finally repel
Not for
Japanese
Lachhiman.
forces.
Not for a Gurkha.
Gurung managed to survive the
The
battle.
motto of the Gurkhas
He
is
personally
simple.
shot dozens of
Kafar
Japanese
hunu
soldiers with
banda
one arm and
marnu
hand.
ramro.
87 Japanese
It
soldiers
is
died
better
in the
to
battle,
die
and
than to
Lachhiman
be a
Gurung
coward.
killed.
Lachhiman reached for his rifle, the Lee Enfield, standard issue for the British Army, 10 rounds in the magazine, bolt action, manual reload, designed for right-handed shooters. Every shot required working the bolt, pulling it back, pushing it forward, chambering a new round. This was a two-handed operation. Lachhiman had one hand, his left hand, his weak hand. He picked up the rifle anyway. Lachhiman braced his back against the wall of the trench. He needed support. His body was weak, his balance was gone. He jammed his kukri into the dirt wall, blade up. A last resort. If they got close enough, he would use it. But first, the rifle. He raised the Lee Enfield with his left hand. The rifle was heavy, nearly 9 pounds. His arm shook with the effort. He braced the stock against his shoulder. He aimed into the darkness. The first Japanese soldiers emerged from the trees, shadows, moving fast. Bayonets glinting, Lachhiman fired. The rifle kicked against his shoulder. The muzzle flash lit up the night. A Japanese soldier fell. Lachhiman worked the bolt. This was the hard part. The bolt handle was on the right side of the rifle, designed for a right-handed shooter to operate while keeping his left hand on the grip. Lachhiman did not have a right hand. He had to take his left hand off the grip, reach across, pull back the bolt, push it forward, return his hand to the grip, all while bleeding out, all while Japanese soldiers charged toward him. He managed it. He aimed again, fired. Another soldier fell. The Japanese could not believe what they were seeing. They had thrown grenades into the trench. They had heard the explosions. They had expected corpses. Instead, they found a demon, a 4'11" demon with one eye and one hand, firing into their ranks like a machine. They fell back, regrouped, and charged again. Lachhiman was running low on ammunition. 10 rounds went fast in a firefight. He needed to reload. Reloading a Lee Enfield with one hand was nearly impossible. He had to hold the rifle between his knees. He had to use his teeth to open the ammunition pouch on his belt. He had to fish out the rounds with his left hand. He had to feed them into the magazine one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rifle only held 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The whole process took 30 seconds. 30 seconds where he could not fire, 30 seconds where the Japanese could advance, 30 seconds where he was helpless. He heard them coming. Closer now. He could see their shapes in the darkness. 20 feet away, 15, 10. He finished reloading, raised the rifle, and screamed. AAYO GURKHALI! Come and fight a Gurkha! The war cry echoed through the jungle. It bounced off the trees. It rolled through the valleys. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. The Japanese heard it. They knew what it meant. The Gurkha was not dead. The Gurkha was not running. The Gurkha was calling them, daring them, challenging them to come closer. They came. They died. The battle lasted 4 hours. 4 hours of darkness. 4 hours of blood. 4 hours of a one-armed man holding off an army. Wave after wave the Japanese attacked. First wave, 10 men. They came screaming out of the jungle, bayonets fixed, eyes wild with fury. Lachhiman shot 4 of them. The rest fell back. Second wave, 15 men, more cautious this time, moving in short rushes, using the trees for cover. Lachhiman shot 6 of them. The rest fell back. Third wave, 20 men, coming from 2 directions at once, trying to flank him. Lachhiman shot 5, threw a grenade at the others, pulled the pin with his teeth. The explosion scattered them. They fell back. Between waves, Lachhiman reloaded. His wounded comrade pushed ammunition toward him when he could. Lachhiman nodded his thanks. He did not have breath to speak. He did not have time to think. He only had time to kill. The blood loss was becoming critical. Lachhiman could feel himself weakening. His vision was narrowing. His hands were cold. His heart was racing, trying to pump blood that was no longer there. He knew the signs. He was dying. But dawn was coming. He could see the first gray light on the horizon. If he could hold on a little longer, just a little longer. The Japanese attacked again. Some of the Japanese got close, very close, close enough for Lachhiman to see their faces, close enough to smell their sweat, close enough to hear them breathing. One soldier reached the edge of the trench. He was young, maybe 18. His bayonet was raised. He lunged at Lachhiman. Lachhiman did not have time to reload. He dropped the rifle, grabbed the kukri from the wall, swung. The blade caught the soldier across the chest. He fell back into the darkness. He did not get up. Lachhiman picked up his rifle, continued firing. Another soldier reached the trench. Lachhiman shot him at point-blank range. The bullet went through the soldier's chest and out his back. He fell on top of Lachhiman. Lachhiman pushed the body away, continued firing. The bodies were piling up in front of his position. 5, 10, 15, 20. Some were within 3 feet of the trench. One was draped over the parapet, his arm hanging into the trench. Lachhiman kicked the arm away, continued firing. 05:30 hours. The sky began to lighten, gray at first, then pink, then gold. The sun was rising over the mountains. The Japanese attack slowed, then stopped. They had lost too many men. They could not take the position. They did not understand why. They fell back into the jungle, leaving their dead behind. Lachhiman lowered his rifle. For the first time in 4 hours, he stopped fighting. He was still standing. He did not know how. His right arm was a ruin. The bleeding had slowed, but only because there was almost no blood left. His right eye was gone. He could see nothing from that side. He was covered in blood. His own. The enemy's. He was so weak he could barely stand. But he was alive. At 0600 hours,
inspired his
reinforcements
soldiers.
arrived.
Then reinforcements
They
arrived.
came up the trail
They would
expecting to
finally repel
find
the
bodies.
Japanese forces.
They expected the trench to
Gurung
be
managed to
overrun.
survive the battle.
They expected
He
their
personally shot
comrades to
dozens
be
of
dead.
Japanese soldiers with one arm and hand.
Instead,
87
they found
Japanese
Lachhiman
soldiers died in the battle,
leaning against
and
the
Lachhiman
trench
Gurung
wall,
killed
rifle in his left hand, surrounded by bodies. The officer in command stared at him. He could not believe what he was seeing. "Rifleman Gurung," he stammered. How are you? Lachhiman looked at him with his one remaining eye. His face was covered in blood and dirt. His arm was a shattered mess. He should have been dead. "I am fine," he said. He meant it. The reinforcements counted the bodies. 31 Japanese soldiers dead, in front of Lachhiman's trench. Some were within 3 feet of the parapet. One was draped over the edge, killed by the Kukri. Several had been shot multiple times. The ground was churned with blood and spent shell casings. 31 men, killed by a 4'11" soldier with one hand and one eye, in 4 hours, with a bolt-action rifle designed for right-handed shooters. The other trenches reported their kills. Together, the entire position had killed perhaps 80 Japanese soldiers. Lachhiman alone accounted for nearly 40%, with one hand. Word spread through the battalion, then the regiment, then the entire Burma campaign. The one-handed Gurkha, the demon of Taungdaw, the man who held off 200 soldiers with a single arm and a war cry. July 1945. The London Gazette published a citation. "Rifleman Lachhiman Gurung, 8th Gurkha Rifles, is awarded the Victoria Cross for most conspicuous bravery and devotion to duty." The Victoria Cross. The highest military decoration in the British Commonwealth, awarded for valor in the presence of the enemy. Only 1,358 have ever been awarded. Lachhiman was one of them. The citation described the battle in detail, the grenades, the wound, the 4-hour stand. It concluded with words that barely captured what had happened. Despite his gruesome injuries, Rifleman Gurung remained at his post and would not be moved. His outstanding bravery and unswerving devotion to duty were an inspiration to all ranks and were beyond praise. Beyond praise. That was the official language. The unofficial language, the language of the soldiers who were there, was simpler. The man was a demon. He would not die. He fought like 10 men. Lachhiman did not care about the praise. He did not care about the medal. When they asked him about that night, he shrugged. "I did my duty," he said. That was all. Part 14. The Life After. Lachhiman survived the war. He was discharged with a disability pension. He returned to Nepal. He lived quietly. He married, he raised a family, he farmed his land. He never spoke of the battle unless asked. Even then, he said little. In 1957, he moved to Britain. He joined the Gurkha community there. He lived in a small flat. He received his pension. He attended the occasional ceremony. When journalists asked him about that night, he would smile. A small smile, modest. "There were many brave men," he would say. "I was just one of them." He was not just one of them. He was the one who stood when others fell. He was the one who fought when others could not. He was the one who screamed, "AAYO GURKHALI!" into the darkness. and meant it. The Japanese soldiers who survived that night told stories. They spoke of the demon in the trench, the one who could not be killed, the one who fought with one hand, the one who screamed into the darkness, daring them to come closer. They did not know his name. They did not know he was 4 feet 11 inches tall. They did not know he had been rejected from the army for being too short. They only knew that he was there, and that they could not stop him. The legend of Lachhiman Gurung spread, not just among the Gurkhas, not just among the British, but among soldiers everywhere. He became a symbol of what one man can do when he refuses to give up, a symbol of courage so absolute that it becomes something else, something supernatural, something demonic. Lachhiman Gurung died on December 12, 2010. He was 92 years old. He was one of the last surviving Victoria Cross recipients from World War II. He was buried with full military honors. The Gurkha regiments sent representatives. The British Army sent representatives. The King of Nepal sent condolences. His funeral was held in Kent, England, far from the mountains of Nepal, far from the jungles of Burma, far from the trench where he had held off 200 men with one hand. But the Gurkhas were there. They came from all over the world, young men and old, veterans and recruits. They came to honor one of their own. The Kukri was carried in the procession, the curved blade that had saved his life, the symbol of everything he was. They buried him with his medals, the Victoria Cross, the proof of what he had done, the proof that one man, one small man, one rejected man, one wounded man could stand against an army and win.
Gurung managed to survive the battle.
War is full
He
of
personally
impossible
shot dozens of
stories.
Japanese soldiers with one
Men
arm
who
and
should have
hand.
died and did
87
not.
Japanese soldiers died in
Men
the
who
battle,
should have run
and Lachhiman
and
Gurung
stood.
killed.
Men who faced odds that made no sense and won anyway. Lachhiman Gurung is one of those men, a reject, too short, too small, a cripple, one hand, one eye. A hero. 31 kills, 4 hours, 1 trench. He did not fight for glory. He did not fight for medals. He fought because that is what Gurkhas do. He stood because falling was not an option. He screamed, "AAYO GURKHALI," because he wanted the enemy to know that as long as he was breathing, they would not pass. The Gurkha motto says it is better to die than to be a coward. Lachhiman Gurung was not a coward, but he did not die either. He did something harder. He lived. And he took 31 of the enemy with him into legend. If you want to know what courage looks like, look at a 4'11" man standing in a trench, one hand gone, one eye blind, blood pouring down his face, 200 enemies charging, and instead of running, instead of hiding, instead of giving up, he raises his rifle, he screams into the darkness, and he fights for 4 hours until dawn. That is courage. That is a Gurkha. That is Lachhiman Gurung. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. Because history is full of men like Lachhiman, small men who did impossible things, ordinary men who became legends, men who proved that the size of the fighter matters less than the size of the fight. Next time on Iron Witness, the pilot who landed on an aircraft carrier with no engine, and no training, and no idea what he was doing.